I'm Sharon Christie. I'm the Commercial and Projects Manager at Scotland Excel. I've been with Scotland Excel since its launch in 2008. I lead two teams, a project and account manager team, who are responsible for establishing and implementing stakeholder engagement, building relationships with local authorities, and supporting engagement with procurement, business change and transformation projects, and participating in events such as this national event and regional and local Meet the Buyers across Scotland. And we work closely with the Supplier Development Programme. My other team in the remit that I have is the associate member team. So as well as 32 local authorities being partners with Scotland Excel, we also have about 160 associate members, and they range from council arm lengths organisations, Scottish Government non-departmental bodies and housing association, transport partnerships, charities and third sector organisations. So a lot of partners. You usually find me in the Scotland Excel stand, but I'm grateful to be here in front of you to tell you more about Scotland Excel. You'll find me back in the stand after this, so please come and see me and the team. My presentation's about Scotland Excel and how you can work with us. Some of what I'm going to tell you has already been said, but I hope I emphasise these really important points from this morning. Again, a bit risky, I've included a couple of poll questions in my presentation, so please be ready with your answers. Thank you. So, Scotland Excel, who are we? We were established in 2008 as the Centre of Procurement Expertise for the local government sector. We're a leading non-profit organisation serving 32 local authorities in Scotland and over 160 associate members from across the public and third sector. We work with our members in a number of ways to support the positive profile of procurement within the member organisations, support policy priorities, and to ensure sustainable delivery of the services that every community needs through collaborative procurement activity, and you as suppliers are key to this delivery. We work with our members to determine what their needs are and the requirements, and they help us to build the tenders that we do. We publish these tenders on behalf of the 32 councils and associate members. And as Julie mentioned earlier, our framework portfolio value is currently just over £2 billion. And that supports the delivery of social care, construction, roads, transport, environment, corporate, education and digital products and services. And I've got a slide later on with a QR code taking you to our contract directory on our website, which gives you a full list of our frameworks and the lots and the suppliers on those. This was mentioned earlier on the panel, so that the wider context of public procurement in Scotland. This slide is representative of that. It shows you the procurement landscape in Scotland and the contracting categories relating to that. And this will hopefully give you a bit more context about Scotland Excel, because I appreciate that we might have a mixed audience of suppliers who have done business with public sector or maybe just at the start of that journey. So category A, as we call it, is national procurement. That's done by Scottish Procurement and Property Directorate, Scottish Government, and they implement and manage a number of frameworks and contracts such as general office supplies, stationery and desktop client services. So things that are relevant to all of the public sector and they're not sector specific. So category B is sector specific, and the procurement of this is done by the centres of expertise, so the guys on the panel earlier. So Scotland Excel, we are specific to local authorities. Examples of our frameworks are classroom materials, the favourite wheelie bins, and new build residential construction. And then you have advanced procurement for universities and colleges and NHS national procurement. There's also category C, and category C1. So category C, that's individual procuring organisations at a local level, for example, a council, a university or a health board. And category C1, which is a collaboration at a local level between 2 or 3 organisations. Do you know where to start? Doing business within Scotland Excel or indeed other public organisations, well, you're here today, so big green tick for that. You need to be registered on Public Contract Scotland, as has been said a few times this morning, or PCS as we refer to it, and ensure that your entry is up to date, which has also been mentioned. You can complete a supplier profile on that too, and that's something that procurement officers might use on the system, and it's kind of like a yellow pages type feature, allows them to search by commodity and keywords. your name, region, postcode. So it's very important that your organisation is registered in PCS and that your supplier profile is up to date. You probably hear that a lot today, but it's key. Make sure you register for all relevant alerts on that system too. The other thing I put up here for you is local Meet the Buyer events. So you find information on forthcoming Meet the Buyer events on councils and organisations' website and also on Supplier Development Programme website. So please go and have a look at what else is coming up. There'll be regional events, smaller local events like these, and Scotland Excel also will be in attendance at the majority of these. Quick quotes were mentioned earlier, and you know there's a session on the agenda this afternoon. So quick quotes are carried out by councils, and it's an online quotation process to get competitive quotes for lower value requirements from suppliers that are registered on PCS, so you need to be on PCS. Frameworks and contracts are also on contract registers published on councils' websites and on PCS. So this transparency allows you to see what's there and what's coming up. So Scotland Excel and councils and other organisations are here exhibiting today, so please come and talk to us and ask lots of questions. So again, mentioned earlier, where to find information about existing frameworks, so PCS. I mentioned a few times already, some suppliers confuse this with Scotland Excel, but PCS is where all the tendering opportunities in Scotland are advertised, and it's the national advertising website for Scottish public bodies to advertise the tender opportunities, but you can also see future and past opportunities on the system as well. And Scotland Excel also publish tender opportunities on Find a Tender service, and this is the UK government's official portal for finding and applying for high-value public sector contract opportunities. So PCS Tender, that's the platform that Scotland Excel use to hold tender documents. Suppliers who want to bid for a Scotland Excel opportunity need to complete and submit the relevant tender documents on PCS Tender, or PCST as we call it. It's the electronic platform that Scotland Excel and a lot of other, but not all, public sector bodies in Scotland use to exchange tender information. You'll use this platform if you decide to bid for a Scotland Excel tender opportunity. PCS is still the place to see all the advertisements for contract opportunities. If you see a contract notice for a Scotland Excel framework opportunity, it will provide a link to the PCST site. They are separate platforms and both require you to be registered. So if you're not registered, please do it today. And you can meet the Scottish Government team on their stand as well. I've now got a poll question for all the suppliers in the audience. So the first question is, I've only got two. I'm registered in Public Contract Scotland. Do I need to register with Scotland Excel too? Okay, the question was, I'm registered in Public Contract Scotland. Do I need to register with Scotland Excel too? And my boss, who's in the audience, and I won't ask him to stand up even though he does it to a lot of people, said, why have you put that down? I said, because I'm asked this question a lot at these events. How do I register with you? How do I get on your list? That kind of thing. And I'm aware that we've got a mix of public sector procurement tender and guys and experience in the audience. So the answer is no, you don't register with Scotland Excel. So the majority of you said yes. Some said no, and some said not sure. So the answer is no, you don't register with Scotland Excel. All of our tender opportunities are advertised on Public Contract Scotland and on Find a Tender. That's the UK Government's portal that I mentioned earlier. Well, thank you. Again, I mentioned transparency in an earlier slide, and this slide highlights transparency a bit more and shows a basic summary about the notices that we publish on PCS. The Scotland Excel always publishes a prior information notice, a PIN. The purpose of this is to alert the market to our intention to tender so that suppliers can start to prepare. And we also hold supplier meeting and engagement sessions to get information about the market from suppliers. The contract notice is used to show that the tender opportunity is live and you can bid for it. It contains detailed information in relation to the opportunity, and we recommend that you read this fully and download all the tender documents before deciding whether to bid or not. And then lastly, the contract award notice notifies the market of the outcome of the tender process, and you can see who was awarded onto that contract. Now on to the slide about our framework portfolio. I've mentioned the value of our portfolio is around £2 billion. And as Julie said earlier, we've got about 70 frameworks across our portfolio, broad categories. I've got some nice pictures for you there. The first one, corporate and education and operational supplies. This category includes frameworks such as educational materials, food and washroom solutions. Social care. We've got arrangements such as fostering, care and support and digital telecare goods. Our care portfolio is around 950 million of that 2 billion, so that puts that into context. And as you can imagine, there are several policy drivers within the remit of social care, which I'm not going to go into. The next category, construction. We've got a number of frameworks, including new build residential construction. The second generation framework is out to tender at the moment and closes next week, the 11th of June. Energy efficiency contractors, demolition and deconstruction works are another couple of examples in this category. And the construction portfolio at Scotland Excel, the value of that is around 800 million, so that gives you a bit of context of the rest of the portfolio too. Transport and environment, again, we've got a number of frameworks in this category, such as bitumen, vehicle parks. And then the last squiggly thing is about digital. And we've recently appointed a new category manager to oversee the management of frameworks within our digital category, including digital services that are already in place, and to work with our strategic partners, including the Digital Office, for product and service development, research and innovation to improve digital access across Scotland. I mentioned digital telegoods earlier, and another example in this category is Microsoft Office 365 licenses. You'll see the QR codes underneath the images. So the code on the left will take you to a flyer we've created specifically for today, which shows our tender opportunities at the moment. They are areas in construction, so we've got, I'll just run through them quickly because hopefully you can click on that. We've also got a board at our stand showing these. So they are bitumen, demolition and construction, engineering and technical consultancy, local heat and energy efficiency strategies. In the corporate and education portfolio, coming up we have catering and sundries, domestic furniture and furnishings, groceries and provisions, education and office furniture and education materials. A couple more. Office supplies and services with bottled gas, debt recovery and sheriff officer services, and election services. And last but not least, social care, care home for adults, which is a flexible framework, and fostering and continuing care. You'll appreciate that this list will change as other opportunities are added, so you should always look on PCS for contract notices and future contract notices, but I wanted to capture what we've got on the go at the moment for you here today. The other QR code on the right takes you to our website, our contract directory, where you'll find all of our collaborative frameworks and the lots and the suppliers that have been awarded onto those. How did I get onto Scotland Excel framework? It's a question I'm often asked by suppliers. So our existing frameworks are closed to new entries unless they're a social care flexible framework. We've also got a couple of arrangements that are DPS or dynamic purchasing systems, which you mentioned this morning. And one of those are recyclable and residual waste, and these can be joined at any time. So to go on a Scotland Excel framework, I'd like to emphasise it's the same process as applying for a contract. You should be registered in PCS to see the opportunities and bid for a tender using PCST. And buying organisations, for example, councils, will call off from awarded suppliers, i.e. they will buy from them. I've got my next poll question for the suppliers in the audience. Are you interested in bidding for a Scotland Excel framework? Yes, no, not sure. Okay, the majority are yes, which is good. Come see us on the stand. A few no, and a few not sure. So interesting result, thank you. There could be several reasons that you might have answered the way you did. You might not know enough about Scotland Excel pipeline to know if you want to bid for something. It could be that you're bidding now and waiting on an outcome. You might have bid in the past and been unsuccessful. You might think you need to cover all of Scotland. However, for our frameworks, we have what we call an ability to service, and that's for suppliers to give them the opportunity to specify which council areas they can service or supply. You might be on a framework already. Whatever the case is, we'd like to hear more from you, so please come and talk to us on the Scotland Excel stand. Just wanted to capture some of the benefits of Scotland Excel collaborative contracting, the benefits for suppliers, but also for our customers. So I've put some things in boxes here to hopefully stand out. So compliance and the regs. The regulations are there for both suppliers and buyers, and we have an open and transparent process in Scotland. Process efficiencies and standardisation of requirements. There are benefits for both suppliers and customers. Suppliers bid once instead of tendering for each of Scotland Excel member. You do one tender rather than 32, saving time and money, etc. Lotting was mentioned a little bit earlier. So we lot our frameworks to encourage SMEs, and our stats at 2022-23, which is the fullest stat we have, we had just over 1,000 suppliers on our frameworks. We've got suppliers ranging from multinational suppliers to micro businesses, and I believe we've got 145 micro businesses, 126 of those are Scottish. Breaking our frameworks down into lots allows for this participation to make it inclusive to all. So of those 1,000 suppliers, 700 are Scottish, and 83% of those are SMEs, and the majority of the rest, about 300, are from the UK. I put down here access to a customer base. I started off by saying we have 32 local authorities plus 160 associate members, including housing association, arm's length organisations. So each member of our customer base will go through their own process deciding which supplier from our frameworks they'll use, and they'll do it in conjunction with what's called their standing orders, and this will vary between organisations. Congratulations, you're on a framework, hopefully. You've been awarded onto Scotland Excel framework, then what? Is that the beginning or the end? So Scotland Excel will mobilise the framework and produce user guides and information about the contract and benefits, and also how customers can use the framework. We hold contract management meetings with suppliers, and you can use these to discuss innovation and new ideas. And Scotland Excel and suppliers should market and promote the frameworks to councils and other members. Though it sounds to me like it's probably more like the beginning. We're here to support you. There are other organisations too, such as the Supplier Development Programme, and they offer free training for companies and social enterprises with experience and success in tendering, but still need that support once they're on a framework. The road ahead, what's next at Scotland Excel? We'll continue working with our customers and suppliers on delivering our collaborative framework portfolio. We're also supporting local authorities with the many challenges they face with budgets, and we've recently established a national savings team at Scotland Excel in response to that. With this in mind, we'll also look at ways to segment our portfolio to look at areas such as commercial outcomes, for example, rationalising product lines or requirements or even frameworks. Or it might be that community benefits or net zero is more of a focus on certain frameworks. And Scotland Excel, a 5-year net zero strategy was published in March last year. So this strategy will be used to support Scotland Excel member councils in the delivery of their individual and collective net zero goals linked to Scottish Government climate emergency policy and legislation. We'll be working on that action plan and working collaboratively with suppliers, partners and members to identify opportunities to, a few things here, reduce carbon footprint of the existing contract portfolio, improve reuse and recycling opportunities, measures to reduce deliveries and associated fuel consumption, introduction of minimum order levels and perhaps reduced number of delivery days. We'll also be working with supported businesses in the third sector, and that will continue to be a focus for us. And these are just a few examples of what's ahead for Scotland Excel. We've got representation from across the organisation, from across procurement on the Scotland Excel stand, and I hope that you can come and talk to us and share any ideas you have on those future areas or anything I've just talked about. Well, thank you. It brings me to the end of my presentation, and thanks for listening, and thanks also for your input to the poll questions. Thank you.